Have you ever met someone who seems to enjoy hurting people? Not by accident, not because they're stressed, not because they're having a bad day, but because they genuinely enjoy seeing others suffer. They love making people feel small. They enjoy creating doubt, insecurity, and emotional pain. Maybe it's a toxic coworker who constantly undermines you, a manipulative friend who twists every situation, a narcissistic ex who knows exactly which buttons to push, or someone online who attacks strangers just to get a reaction. And here's the frustrating part. The harder you fight back, the stronger they seem to become. You defend yourself, you explain yourself, you try to prove them wrong, yet somehow they still win. Why? Because most people completely misunderstand what these individuals are really after. They're not looking for truth. They're not looking for justice. They're not even looking to be right. They're looking for something far more valuable: your attention, your emotions, your peace of mind. And the moment you give them that, you've already lost the game. But today, you're about to learn the one response that completely destroys their strategy. A response so powerful that it removes the very thing they depend on. Once you understand this, toxic people lose their grip on you. Their words lose their power, and their attempts to hurt you begin to fail. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why people who enjoy hurting others absolutely hate this response. People who enjoy hurting others are usually chasing one thing: control, not respect, not connection, not understanding, control. Think about what happens when someone insults you and you instantly get angry. They feel powerful. When someone pushes your buttons and you lose your temper, they feel like they've won. And when a cruel comment stays in your head for days, making you question yourself over and over again, they gain exactly what they wanted: your attention, your energy, your emotional focus. That's why arguing with toxic people rarely works, because they're not searching for truth. They're not interested in solving the problem. They're not trying to understand your perspective. They're trying to create a reaction. To them, your frustration is a reward. Your emotional pain is proof that they have influence over you. And this is where so many people get trapped. They spend hours defending themselves, explaining themselves, trying to change the mind of someone who was never interested in understanding them in the first place. But here's the reality. Toxic people don't feed on logic. They feed on emotional responses. The more energy you give them, the stronger they feel. And the moment you understand that, everything begins to change. When someone attacks you, your natural instinct is to fight back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to show them they can't get away with it. And on the surface, that sounds completely reasonable. But here's the problem. Most toxic people aren't looking for a fair fight. They're looking for a reaction. And the moment you give them one, you've stepped into their game. Think of it like a fisherman dropping a hook into the water. The hook isn't the goal, the reaction is. The second the fish bites, the fisherman gains control. Toxic people operate the same way. Every argument you enter, every angry message you send, every emotional outburst, every desperate attempt to explain yourself is another bite on the hook. And with every reaction, they gain more influence over your emotions. This doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. And it certainly doesn't mean staying silent forever. It means recognizing when a battle is unwinnable, because you cannot defeat someone whose only objective is to disturb your peace. The more you fight for their understanding, the more power you hand over. But the moment you stop playing their game, you take that power back, and that's when everything begins to change. So what is the one response toxic people absolutely hate, it's not a clever comeback, it's not a better argument, and it's definitely not revenge. It's emotional non-participation. In other words, you refuse to give them what they came for: your reaction, your anger, your frustration, your peace of mind. Instead, you remain calm. You stay grounded. You don't chase their approval. You don't beg for their understanding. You don't waste hours trying to justify yourself. And most importantly, you refuse to hand over control of your emotions. This is incredibly frustrating for toxic people because their entire strategy depends on one thing: getting inside your head. The moment they can control how you feel, they feel powerful. But when you stay calm, something unexpected happens. Their strategy begins to fall apart. Imagine trying to start a fire without oxygen. No matter how many sparks you create, nothing catches. That's exactly what happens when someone tries to provoke a person who refuses to be emotionally manipulated. The fuel disappears, the drama dies, the conflict loses its power, and suddenly the toxic person is left with nothing. No reaction, no control, no victory. Because the strongest response isn't fighting harder, it's becoming emotionally unavailable to manipulation. And when you master that skill, the game doesn't continue. The game ends. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two people facing the exact same insult. The first person reacts immediately. Their face tightens, their voice gets louder, they start defending themselves, they argue, they explain, they try to prove the other person wrong. Within seconds, their emotions are in control. And just like that, the conflict grows bigger and bigger. Now imagine the second person. They hear the same insult, the same criticism, the same attempt to provoke them. But instead of reacting, they pause. They take a breath, they smile slightly and calmly say, "You're entitled to your opinion?" Then they move on. No argument, no emotional explosion, no desperate need to defend themselves, no effort to win the other person's approval. Now ask yourself, which person is easier to manipulate? Which person is easier to control? The answer is obvious. The second person. Not because they're stronger physically, not because they're smarter, but because they remain in control of the one thing that matters most: their emotional state. The attacker may control their words, but they cannot control that person's mind. And that's exactly what frustrates toxic people. Because the moment they realize they can't influence your emotions, they realize they've lost their power. And when their power disappears, so does their advantage. The strongest people in the room are rarely the loudest. They don't need to dominate every conversation. They don't need to win every argument. And they don't waste their energy trying to prove their worth to people who have already decided not to understand them. Their real strength comes from something much more powerful: detachment. Now, detachment doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring about people. And it certainly doesn't mean you stop having emotions. It means you stop allowing other people to control those emotions. You realize that not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every insult deserves a response. And not every conflict deserves your energy. You begin to understand a life-changing truth. Someone else's cruelty is a reflection of their character, not your value. Their anger doesn't define you. Their criticism doesn't determine your worth. Their negativity doesn't have to become your burden. And once you truly understand that, something incredible happens. You stop taking every attack personally. You stop replaying hurtful words in your mind. You stop carrying emotional baggage that never belonged to you in the first place. For the first time, you feel free, emotionally free. Because when other people can no longer control how you feel, they lose their ability to control you. And that is where real power begins. Not in forcing others to change, but in refusing to let them disturb your peace. Here's the truth that most people spend years trying to learn. The greatest revenge is not proving someone wrong. It's not winning the argument. It's not making them regret what they did. The greatest revenge is becoming completely unaffected, because the moment someone can control your emotions, they gain power over your life. But the moment they can't, that power disappears. Think about it. When toxic people see that their words no longer upset you, they lose their advantage. When they realize they can't make you angry, insecure, or defensive, they lose their influence. And when they discover that you refuse to play their game altogether, they often move on in search of someone else to control. Because manipulation only works when someone participates. Drama only survives when both sides keep feeding it. And control becomes impossible the moment emotional participation ends. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop focusing on changing toxic people. Stop trying to make them understand your value. Stop chasing validation from people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, focus on protecting your peace, protecting your energy, protecting your emotional freedom. Because true strength isn't found in defeating difficult people. It's found in becoming so secure within yourself that their behavior no longer has the power to disturb you. And when you reach that point, something remarkable happens. You stop reacting, you stop suffering, and you start living on your own terms. That's when you truly win, not because they lost, but because they no longer control any part of your life. The next time someone tries to hurt you, insult you, manipulate you, or pull you into unnecessary drama, remember this. You don't have to win the argument, you don't have to change their mind, and you certainly don't have to prove your worth to someone who has already decided not to see it. Your value does not depend on their opinion. Your peace does not belong to them, and your emotional well-being is too valuable to hand over to people who thrive on negativity. Sometimes the strongest response isn't saying more. It's refusing to give away your peace, because people who enjoy hurting others survive on reactions. They feed on anger. They feed on frustration. They feed on emotional chaos. But the moment you stop feeding them, everything changes. Their influence fades, their control disappears, and their words lose the power they once had over you. So from this day forward, choose peace over conflict. Choose self-respect over validation. Choose emotional freedom over emotional reaction. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below. I protect my peace. And if you're ready to build a stronger mind, greater confidence, and emotional resilience, make sure to subscribe for more psychology, self-mastery, and personal growth content. Thank you for watching. And remember, the people who control their emotions become the people who control their lives.